to protect the leaf from losing too much of its moisture, losing too much water too quickly. All right, so let's revisit today's lesson in terms of the difference between being a generalized cell, like a single cell organism has to do all the things that a living organism has to do, versus being a multi-celled organism with specialized cells. When you have specialized cells, each one can be just really good at the one or two jobs it has to do. And then the organization goes like this: cells form tissues, tissues form organs, organs form organ systems. And we use the leaf as an example of this. And so as we're going through this, clearly there are some things you have to memorize, but your memorization will help if you always keep in mind a couple of things, and that is all of these levels of organization make sense in terms of the job or function that every cell, tissue, organ, or system has to do. Because if you understand the function, then you start to recognize the patterns that exist in terms of the characteristics of the cells or the tissues that they make up. For example, the location, the physical characteristics, the shape, all these things start to make sense if you understand the function and the patterns in nature. So let's just recap the leaf and with that in mind. The very top layer is the cuticle. And so this waxy coating, if you think about the shape or the physical characteristics of this thing, it's a waxy layer at the top of the cell. Why? It's protective layer. It's located at the top in order to protect the leaf. Then you have this one layer at the top we call the epidermal layer or epidermis. Okay, again, this single layer has to be transparent, right? Why? Because it allows light through, but it also has to provide a layer of protection. Then we have this section that we call the palisades. I'll draw these in pink. Palisades are these upright chalk a block, lots of palisades right beside each other. Why? Well, their location at the top of the leaf, their shape, these kind of long, skinny things, their physical characteristics, lots of stomata, all these things. So when you start to put this all together, it makes sense of if their job is mainly to photosynthesize, then they have to be located in a certain place, shaped a certain place, have certain physical characteristics. That's the palisades. All right, once we get through the palisades, then we have another section down here. Yeah, we can talk about the spongy mesophyll layer, all these like loosely packed, they're in random direction now. Spongy mesophyll layer. Why is it spongy? Why are they loosely packed? Why are they located in this location? It's all about the fact that their job is to allow gaps in here for gases like CO2, water vapor, oxygen to move around in this layer to get to the places it has to be. Then we can talk about the next section here where we have these xylem and phloem. Okay, so we can draw the xylem and phloem something like this. These are our xylem, our phloem, our vascular bundles, basically, right? These bundles of materials or bundles of cells that allow the passage of liquids. We're going to talk more about those later, but they got to be located in here. So you get the idea. If you understand all this stuff, then starting to understand and I guess memorize each of these layers: cuticle, epidermis, palisades, spongy mesophyll, the vascular bundles. Then we get down into the lower epidermals. Then we get down to these lower epidermal cells down here, same as the upper epidermal cells. But now we're going to have these guard cells in here. Never really left room for those. Anyway, stomata, guard cells will be in there. They're hard to show from a cross section, but you get this lower epidermis, and that includes the guard cells. So go back, make sure you understand each of these different cells, tissues that make up the leaf, the cross-section leaf. Get some practice understanding or remembering what the different layers are, going from top to bottom, would be the best way to keep in mind. And always keep in mind, not just what it is, but what the function of it is. And once you understand the function, it's a lot easier to identify where it's going to be and what it's going to look like.